Welcome, students, to our course, Ethics and Issues in the Nonprofit Sector. I'm Karen Kispert, your instructor. I want to start by saying that I have been where you are now. And by that I mean I have gone through 2 graduate programs while employed professionally in a demanding job and raising a child. So I know what it's like to reorder priorities and to put some things in my life on hold for a couple of years in order to take full advantage of a wonderful opportunity to further my education and my skills and hopefully my effectiveness in the nonprofit sector. Over the next 10 minutes or so, I want to make sure that you are clear on the requirements that are expected of you to complete prior to our residency on September 11th and 12th. These requirements are on Brightspace. They are in their own document and they're also in the syllabus. But I would just want to clarify so that there are no questions. If you have questions, of course, do contact me. My email address is all over the documents, kkispert, Kispert, at eastern.edu. The first requirement, which you're already doing if you're watching this video, is to become familiar with Brightspace, Eastern's new curriculum delivery module. Everything after our residency will be posted on Brightspace. You'll see that I have a biography of myself posted there and some other documents. Please do look at them. Secondly, also on Brightspace is the discussion. The discussion board is a key learning environment activity tool that will be used not only in our course, but in all your courses in this program, so you need to become proficient with it. You'll see that I have posted a question. It has several parts to it. You need to respond to the question and then also respond to your classmates' posts within a certain time period. The third requirement before the residency is to do some reading. And this is my opportunity to explain the textbooks. There are only 2 that you had to purchase for this course. Here's the first one, Managing Business Ethics. The authors are Linda Trevino and Catherine Nelson. Be sure you get this sixth, this videotape is backwards, the 6th edition. There we go, the 6th edition, and not an earlier edition. This book has been very well received and is used frequently as a textbook since the 1st edition. I myself have used it off and on since the 2nd edition. There are 2 things I particularly appreciate about Trevino and Nelson's approach. First is they are talking about organizational ethics, and that is our focus. Secondly, their focus, their approach, is to look at ethics as behavior. Yes, your own personal ethic will derive from your own personal values, and an organization's ethic derives from the organizational values. But ethics are demonstrated through decision-making and behavior. And that is what we are going to be talking about, what you will later be reading about, and that is the approach of this book, Managing Business Ethics. You have a couple of the core chapters to read before our residency. The second required textbook is this monograph. It's not too many pages, but it's great reading, Good to Great and the Nonprofit Sectors by Jim Collins. Jim first became known in the business and leadership field as a co-author with Jerry Porras of a book called Built to Last. In Built to Last, Porras and Collins researched companies that had flourished for a very long time, like 100 years. And they pulled out the themes that were common to these companies and wrote the book Built to Last. After that, Porras retired, and Collins got a team of researchers together because he was interested in what differentiates a good company from a great company. One of his famous sayings is, and you may have heard this, good is the enemy of great, meaning that if you as a person or as an organization is content to be good at what they do, they lose that drive to become great at what they do. So in Good to Great, the researchers took companies in the same field that are one considered good and one considered great and figured out what differentiated them. So for example, in pharmaceuticals, Johnson & Johnson is a good company. Merck is considered a great company. And what makes the difference? They looked at pharmaceuticals, supermarkets, manufacturing, and a number of other sectors. Then people in the government and nonprofit organizations would come to Collins and say, we're trying to figure out if the principles that you guys found define a great company also are true for government and nonprofits. So Collins, in response, wrote this, Good to Great and the Social Sectors, by which he means government and nonprofits. And it's really his discussion with the reader of his thinking processes, of the conclusions he came to. You'll find that he has great respect for the social sectors. You do not have had to read Good to Great in order to fully understand Good to Great in the social sectors. He does explain the key principles. However, if you want to read Good to Great, go for it. It's a thick book, but very readable, a really stimulating, provocative read. Those are your two textbooks. After our residency period, during the online weeks, you will be reading. You'll be reading a lot. And I've selected research articles from scholarly journals, chapters from books written by esteemed scholars in the field of nonprofit management and leadership, some particularly good practitioner articles, kind of a range of types of materials for you to read. And we'll discuss in residency what will happen after residency in terms of the reading and how you will handle the reading. I want to just mention this book, Forces for Good, by Crutchfield and Grant, which is one of your required texts for your financial management course. I'm going to be referencing Forces for Good during the residency, and you'll be reading a couple of chapters in the post-residency online period. I was going to have you purchase that for our class, and then I saw it was on Professor Colbury's list for financial management. And she and I are quite enthused that our brains came together and we both thought of this book from her perspective and me from my perspective. Crutchfield and Grant were interested in replicating some of Collins' methodology to determine what makes some nonprofit organizations, they didn't use great, but rather have a high impact, really make a difference depending on what their mission is. And that's what Forces for Good is about. What defines a high impact nonprofit? So Good to Great and Crutchfield and Grant are considered kind of twins, twin books for the nonprofit sector. So pre-residency requirements: 1, become familiar with Brightspace; 2, participate in the discussion on Brightspace; 3, do some reading; and 4th, you have a 3-part assignment: research, writing, and presentation, which again is explained. There's a document just about that. But I'm asking you to research, discover some ethical scandal or challenge facing a nonprofit organization, some ethical situation that a real nonprofit has confronted. There are some questions about that situation I've asked you to find out about. And then, pretending you are a consultant brought in after the scandal has come to light, after the organization has realized it is confronting this ethical dilemma, and in just 2 pages, I've outlined what you need to include in those 2 pages, but basically you'll tell me what your findings were and what your recommendations would be. Then on Saturday, September the 12th, each of you will do a presentation. We'll present the situation, your findings, and your recommendations to the class. And you can use any audio-visual aid that you want to use. PowerPoint, YouTube video, handouts, recordings, whatever that you find. So that I've used this as a learning activity in the past, and it's always one of my favorites to hear students present and hear the insights that you'll have. And then as a class, we'll kind of pull all of the presentations together and pick out the themes that we've discovered together. Finally, in order for our our residency class discussions and our learning activities to be grounded in reality, I want each of you to do two things. One is to bring to class a mission statement of an organization. Either bring it with you or know where to find it online on your laptop computer. And then secondly and lastly, please be thinking about one or more nonprofits that you know something about. It may be where you're employed, it could be where you volunteer, where you receive services, your church, your child's school, whatever, so that there will be real life situations to illustrate the points that we go over in class. You may use those real situations to kind of question or critique the points we go over in class, and you will also use them with some learning activities that we'll do as individual exercises or as group work. I'm hoping that's clear. Again, please contact me if you do have any questions. You need to become familiar with Brightspace, participate in the Brightspace discussion, do your reading from the business ethics book and read Good to Great in the nonprofit sectors. Do your research, writing, and presentation assignment. Bring a mission statement to class, and carefully think about some real organizations that you know something about, that you will have those in your mind as we go through our residency. Now, some of you, I expect, have come to this program convinced that this is God's leading you. God has led you to Eastern. God has led you to this program. And you see this as a step not only on your professional journey, but on your spiritual journey as well. Others of you might not be so sure about all of that, but you are committed to deepening your skills so that you can become a more effective manager and leader in the nonprofit sector. I welcome you all. I look forward to meeting you Tuesday night, September 8th at the orientation dinner in Philadelphia, and then delving into issues and ethics in the nonprofit sector with you during our 2-day residency period and the weeks that follow. I'll see you soon.